I'm excited to talk with you because you have this, what's it called, Paranormal Hitmen that you're working on?
Yeah. So I have a comic coming out in February, February 10th, called Paranormal Hitmen, and it's being published and released through Behemoth Comics.
Okay, and Behemoth, I know that name, but I can't place what I know them from exactly.
Yeah. So they're a fairly new publisher. Their biggest book just came out 2 weeks ago. It was in a comic adaptation of the horror film A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night,
Mm,
and I think they did over 11,000 copies in sales
wow.
for the book. Yeah, so that kind of got their name even
Yeah,
more out there than it already was. Yeah,
yeah, I haven't read it, but I remember pretty much everybody in the like comic community talking about it. I think it came
yeah,
out last week, right?
yeah. It was either last week or the week before. It might have been last week.
It's
Yeah,
probably the week before. I didn't hear a lot of chatter because Wednesday is comics and then Thursday was Thanksgiving this last week. But yeah, I do
yeah.
remember it coming up on a lot of like videos on YouTube and a lot of stuff on Instagram. So sounds like they're doing big things, man. That sounds like maybe like the Source Point Press or like Scout Comics, maybe even Vault Comics kind of level of publishing.
Yeah, they have a lot of great titles out there, and another one that they did a couple months ago was based off a hit video game, Hotline Miami, and
Oh yeah.
they're doing a lot of. They have a lot of big licenses that they're getting involved with, and there's going to be a big stuff coming ahead for Behemoth, and they're kind of on the straight path up, and yeah, you're to see a lot of big things coming from them.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably where I know their name best because I never played Hotline Miami, but I
Mhm.
was like into gaming a lot whenever that came out, and that was a game that I recognized just from like the frantic nature of it. It's crazy to me that they turned that into a comic, but it's kind of an awesome
Yeah.
concept.
Oh yeah, yeah. The artwork's great, and I mean the covers on it are just awesome. I mean it's yeah. I mean everything that they've been releasing has just been awesome.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really cool. So why don't you, I guess, kind of give me an overview of Paranormal Hitmen because I really like the stuff you have here, especially the color scheme. There's a lot of green to it. I'm a big fan of especially like that emerald green. It's got a good glow to it. So what is Paranormal Hitmen all about?
Yeah. So Paranormal Hitman takes place at 1970s, late 1970s Philadelphia, and it's about these two hitmen, Gene Rizzo and Devon Grace, and they're basically recruited into this secret government agency that deals with paranormal activity like ghosts, and they're basically tasked with finding this cube called the Spectre Cube, which is able to bring ghosts back to the living world through objects that have been associated with them in the past. And while they're hunting down these ghosts and trying to get back the cube, they also have to deal with their former employer, who's Alfonso Carboni, who's the mob boss. And so not only will they have to hunt ghosts, they're being hunted at the same time by the mob. So it's kind of, you know, Goodfellas, Sopranos meets Ghostbusters all in one comic.
Nice. So are
Yeah.
they hitmen for like an agency or like a government agency, or are they like a mob kind of thing?
So they're hitmen for the mob, and then they're recruited into this agency. There's a unique character that we see in the first issue that kind of ties them all together, and in a funny way.
Okay.
I don't want to give away any spoilers, but it's kind of tied together in a funny way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So sort of a Men in Black kind of vibe almost.
yeah,
Not through
we
the whole thing, but like that there's an organization behind this that operates in the shadows.
yeah, some people have kind of considered it almost like Men in Black type of situation.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And I see like I mean there's like dinosaurs and it looks like Roman chariots and so it looks like there's a lot of like history tied into this. Is that a thing or
Yeah, so not only will it be people that they know tied into it as ghosts, but we do have some historical figures in there. Like the second issue has, like you mentioned, the T Rex, Abraham Lincoln's in there somewhere, and samurai. I mean, it's just like a whole bunch of crazy soldiers from
yeah?
past history that we can have fun with this story.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like almost like Starsky and Hutch or something is in there, and maybe like some '70s black exploitation. I see like a T Rex and a chariot. It looks like Abraham Lincoln in the background. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. It sounds like a pretty big world to be able to explore and pull inspiration from.
Yeah, and that's the best thing about it, especially doing it in the '70s. I mean, we could play with the different styles that we had in the '70s with clothing, hairdos, the old school weapons and cars, and yeah, I mean Wilson Gandolpho, who's the artist, letterer, colorist. I mean, he just did an amazing job with it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you? I guess what is your process for creating this? Are you writing it and then you have an artist doing all the art and colors and everything, or is it coming back and forth a lot? Or
Yeah, so basically, I'll write the script. I'll come up with the synopsis, the script. I'll send it off to Wilson Gandolfo, who's the artist, colorist, letterer, and he'll go through it and make some suggestions like what he wants to draw or how he wants the panel to look, and we'll kind of come together and sign off on it and agree to it, and honestly, throughout the whole process, there might be some things like when it comes time to draw, like Wilson might have an idea saying like, "Oh, why don't I add this here?" Or I might have an idea with saying like, "Oh, why don't we add this type of soldier here?" Or make this panel look a certain way. And that's a good thing about working with Wilson. We have a good working relationship, and we kind of um, listen to each other's ideas, and I think that's kind of what makes this comic go and
hmm
work at the same time. Yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, I think that's one of the greater things about comics is when you have like a say a movie or a TV show, right? That's
Mhm.
got so many moving parts and so many people involved that while it's collaborative, you get this there's a lot of potential outcome there. If everybody's firing on all cylinders, you might make the greatest movie or TV show ever, but at the same time, like one kink in the armor, and suddenly you've got a big problem everywhere. Whereas comics tends to come from a collaborative place, but since there's only like 2 to 4 people involved, usually you get a much more like concise and in a lot of cases a stronger product, in my opinion. And so I think that's always interesting is like how people work back and forth to make a comic. Because it can be something where you've written all this stuff and they have other ideas and it goes in a different way, or you might all be on the same page. But I think that's what makes it interesting is that it's just 2 people, maybe 4 people, all kind of like working together to create this.
Yeah, and exactly. I mean, as long as you have a good team there, it's gonna make it go, and you can do great things.
hmm Yeah. This it kind of reminds me, I don't know, have you read The Man Who Effed Up Time?
No, I've heard the title, but I haven't read read the story.
Yeah, it was a John Layman book. I want to say it was last year or maybe the beginning of this year that it came out. It was like a little 5-part series, and kind of worked in the same manner. Like basically this guy goes back in time and steps on a butterfly, you know, and so you have the butterfly effect, and he
Yeah,
ends up trying to fix time and he's messing it up worse and everything, you know, and it's kind of a comedy version of kind of what you're talking about here, because like dinosaurs end up existing whenever he goes back to present time. So he goes back to fix that, but now like Abraham Lincoln has become the king of America, you know, and so now the king of America is like Abraham Lincoln the 13th or something, you know, and so like it's a lot of fun like that, and I think that's a really cool way to tell a story because you know, whether you take a more serious tone like it sounds like you have here or the more comedic tone, it creates this universe you can just draw like infinite wisdom and characters and inspiration from, you know, because you can go to any time period, you can take anything from there, you know.
yeah, yeah, and that's you know, that's one thing that we liked with, you know, like you said, with doing all this like historical figures and stuff like Abraham Lincoln, and you know, adding in the Roman soldiers, the samurai. I mean, it's just so much we can play with using ghosts. You know, you have every type of time period you can think of.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you come up with a lot of that in the writing, or is that something that tends to come up in art? Is like, oh, I feel like drawing a T Rex this week, or a soldier, you know?
It's a little bit of both. You know, when I started writing, you know, we like I had the idea to add a couple of like historical figures in there, and you know, as Wilson Strolling too, he kind of has a couple ideas to add, you know, a couple soldiers that he might want to draw in there. So it's a little bit of both in the artwork and in the writing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So like you kind of mentioned, you know, Ghostbusters. Like,
Hmm.
what are the inspirations that you're really drawing on as far as like other media and genres and stuff?
Yeah. So I mean, I would consider this book an action comedy. So I try to take that aspect from Ghostbusters, like the comedic approach that they had in their movies. And I also had a love for, you know, mafia movies and TV shows growing up, you know, whether it be Goodfellas, Godfather, Sopranos. And I just tried to marry both of those, the Ghostbusters, Men in Black, and, you know, the mafia movies all into one, and came up with this idea for a comic series.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy Goodfellas and
Hmm.
oh man, what's it? The Godfather and all of that. Like such incredible filmmaking, you know,
Hmm.
and the way that like the mafia family and the organization works and stuff. I've only seen like half of the first season of The Sopranos, though. I really need to finish that one.
Yeah, yeah, Sopranos is pretty good. I mean, it's not. I still consider, you know, Goodfellas and Godfather probably the two best mafia movies or, you know, media out there. But yeah, yeah, Sopranos is it's
Mhm.
was a good series. Yeah.
Yeah, very well regarded. I've got to
Hmm.
finish it one day. I feel
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah,
so far behind on that, you know.
yeah, yeah. You have to binge watch it one day.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You know, you were talking about like action comedy or yeah, action comedy. So, I guess like how do you find comedic beats? Like what is your process for finding what's funny, or do you just kind of go with your own?
Yeah. You know, it kind of just like flows out when I'm writing. You know, I'll think of like a funny situation. You know, whether it be stuff that I've maybe seen growing up, and you know, or maybe like kind of take an idea that I might have seen in a movie but change it to where it could fit the book, or you know, kind of just playing the two together,
Yeah.
and just writing it out and kind of coming up with that idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I often hear you know, comedy writers, they cite that as like one of the most difficult genres just because you know, what scares people is like pretty generic in a lot of ways, you know, or even that you can get away with not showing what's scaring somebody, you know.
Yeah,
Action is
yeah,
obvious, it's over the top, it's explosive, it's in your face, you know. Romance is two people in love, but whenever it comes to comedy, it's completely subjective, and what's funny to one person is not funny to another person. It really depends on the people that are consuming it and what their interests are. And It's really hard in comics to do comedy just because you know, without the audio there, it makes the timing that much harder to find because you have to find neat ways to kind of like control how they're reading it in order to nail the timing on it.
Yeah, and that's one of the toughest things is to put that comedic aspect into the comic. Because not, I mean, there's not too many comics out there that kind of use comedy. It's just, a lot of action and grittiness. So that is a challenge, kind of getting that comedic aspect into the series there.
Yeah. How do you I guess how do you kind of craft your script and stuff? Are you outlining to hit certain beats and then you go back in and try to fill in the comedy, or is it kind of all flowing at once?
I would say it's all flowing at once. I mean, what I'll do is have a script laid out, write everything, and then go over it, 5 or 10 more times, and then it feels like each time I go over it, I'll change, some dialogue here, or change, a scene here, or change a panel there, and so I mean, it's a process where you have the script laid out, and it's just changing, every minute. It's just you're just going back and copy and pasting stuff in and out, and also that's where working with Wilson comes into play too, because Wilson might have an idea that he wants to throw in there, and that's where the teamwork kind of goes with the script.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of passes or like I guess edits and redrafting and stuff?
Yeah, so like even right now as we speak, we had a couple of things that we edited for the first issue today, and that's going to be printed out soon. So I mean, it's just from the time Wilson was complete with everything, with his letters and had the final product. I mean, we've been adding stuff, editing stuff. We'll notice maybe punctuation marks missing somewhere, or words might have been misspelled, and so it's a process where we keep editing, and it's something that we kind of work together on, and I mean, right now, I mean, it's good to go. We're done. We just wanted to, for example, like there's some dialogue in the first issue where we went back and forth with, and we ended up taking it out today and putting in new dialogue. So stuff like that, is stuff
Hmm.
that we work on.
Yeah. Well, I know like on what was it, Deadpool 2, you know, Ryan Reynolds, he went back all the way up until like a week or two before it actually released and ADR different lines, you know, and
Hmm.
I think that's an important aspect to comedy, at least in a certain sense, you know, in a certain style, is like making sure it's relevant, that it's really hitting, you know, and being able to go back and keep editing and changing that, you know, and a lot of times that's a good way to have it, you know. So like whenever
Yeah.
you write, do you already kind of like script out your dialogue and know where it's going to go, or are you kind of ballooning things as the pages get done?
Um, So what I usually tend to do is kind of have all the scenes played out in my head, like I'm almost like I'm watching a movie as I'm writing, and I'll have all the like the how I want each panel set up, and then I'll go back in and add the dialogue after I have what kind of action I want the characters to be showing, or what I want what kind type of scenery I want shown in the panels, and then I'll go in and add dialogue to it, and then once Wilson puts it to paper, then we'll go back and say, okay, maybe we should change this bubble, or maybe we should add another sentence or another phrase here or there. Yeah.
Awesome. And so I guess in your scripting process, are you doing or are you like kind of describing each and every panel, or are you giving more vague instructions like this is what needs to happen on this page and letting him do all the layouts, or how do you kind of handle the visual layout of the page?
Yeah. So in each panel, I'll give a description. Like I'll say, I want Gene and Devon to, you know, uh, I'll have like, like I want a mid-range shot of Gene and Devon fighting a ghost. and in the background we'll have a city or skyscrapers, and that's the type of detail that I'll give. And then Wilson will kind of take that, and he'll use his references and then draw it out, and kind of go with what I wrote down in the script. And there are some times where he'll come back and say, "Hey, how about we make it, like an overhead shot, and we had this in the background," and stuff like that is what goes into the different scripts, and how we kind of come up with the panels.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, like I said, Matt kind of put you in touch with me and everything, and we set this up. And he reached out to me basically on social media, like, hey, I have this book called Dino Thrashers coming out, and if you would like to talk to us. I was like, that's cool. So that was like the first person I really talked to like this and stuff. So I guess, like, how do you know Matt, and what is his involvement? Because I know he had mentioned having being a little bit involved here. So what is he doing with this?
Yeah, so Matt is editing the each Paranormal Hitman issue. So he'll go back in and double check, make sure that everything's spelled correctly, make sure that all the punctuation marks are there, and he'll also go in and kind of check the art as well, and also if something doesn't seem right, he'll come back and say, hey, what if this probably doesn't fit here? Why don't you change it to this? And and that's where having a writer that's as good as Matt editing the book is just like an extra bonus to the to the Paranormal Hitman team. It's you have that other extra eye to correct your work and to help out.
Yeah, he's a real good guy. I haven't read any of his work, but I've seen like the artwork that he posts on social media and stuff, and he's a talented guy. Like, wherever I talk to him, I could tell like he has a lot of wisdom, experience, like he's not just talking from what he read in a book or whatever, like he's a really good guy. I really enjoyed talking to him that day.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and an even better writer. I mean, his work is well done, and it's just a good person to have working
have in
with
your corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how did that get you involved with Behemoth? Because I think that's really cool. Like I said earlier, I've seen a little bit of their work coming out, and I think that's really cool that you're involved with the publisher.
Yeah, so when we came up with the 5 pages and cover, we sent it out to a couple of publishers pitching the book, and we had a couple of publishers interested and ready to sign on. And then I noticed something on Facebook. It was Blackout, a book that Behemoth had released, and I did some more research on them, and I said, hey, why don't I send this pitch to them? And I noticed that they were being distributed through Diamond, and they had a couple of awesome looking books coming out, and they actually had purchased, I think it was Amigo Comics, right when we signed on with them. And when I talked to Nathan Yoakum, who's one of the co-founders, he was kind of going over a couple of the licenses that they were coming out with and what they were working on. And ever since I talked with Nathan, I wanted to go with Behemoth, and they signed us, signed Paranormal Hitmen, and the rest is history.
Awesome.
It's been a great relationship ever since.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I think that's what I think that's the role of publishers at this point, at least, especially like a lot of these indie publishers, is just like getting people in the stores, because especially with Diamond still having that monopoly on distribution and having limits on what you have to be able to move for them to even take you on. I think, like I feel like Scout kind of gets some, some negativity because they pick up a lot of these Kickstarter books and then um, put them under the Scout name. But for these creators, I think people forget, like for these creators, that's life changing, because even if you do a Kickstarter and you run a successful campaign, the only people getting this book are the people that backed it, that already found you online, that already know who you are. And so when Scout, is able to go to them and say, "Hey, we see you did a great job with this. We want to help you out." What they're doing is they're putting this book in front of people on shelves in a store that they walk into. They're broadening that horizon and that distribution system. And so I think that's really great that Behemoth took you, because that's going to put this book in front of so many more eyeballs than, even a very successful Kickstarter can do a lot of times.
Yeah, it's I mean, so far it's been great. Ever since it came out in the previous magazine, we've had a couple shops message me, and I've been going out to a couple of shops, especially my local comic shops here, and they're going to be carrying the book. And also, it's cool because we have a couple shops in Ireland, Australia. Just today, we're getting in a shop in Quebec, and last night we got in a shop in Alaska. So it's kind of cool that you're not only in the U.S. shops, but you're going to be sold in Australia or Ireland or
Hmm.
Canada. It's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome, because that's just so much more opportunity, for it to be going worldwide already.
Hmm.
So, like, how many issues are people looking forward to here? You said you got one pretty much done, and it sounds like you're working on number two.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing 4 issues, and then we'll have a trade paperback coming out in the summer. And then if Behemoth wants to keep the Paranormal Hitman universe rolling, I kind of have the synopsis laid out for another 4 issues for a second arc, and maybe that's a possibility down the line. Sometime in 2022 or even late 2021. So I mean, the possibilities are there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. It sounds like you have a pretty bright future and a broad horizon with them, so that should be good for you.
Yeah, and yeah, they're great. They're a great publisher to work with. They're very creator friendly, and they also provide a lot of great advice, and they're a good team over there.
Awesome. Do you have other things that you've already worked on, or other things you have in the pipeline?
Yeah, so I have worked on horror anthology before with we worked with Legacy Comics. Um, so I have written a couple of short horror stories, but moving forward, there's a couple things that I'm working on. I don't think I can mention it yet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to be with working with Behemoth, but there's more to come. I'm sure there'll be an announcement down the line. But yeah, other than that, I got a couple other things that I'm kind of scripting out right now. But yeah, right now I'm focused on getting out a Paranormal Hitman and making sure that we push it out there and get a lot of
Hmm.
eyes on the book.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot. You don't have to give details. I was just
No.
wondering, kind of like what your what your outlook is on the industry, because this definitely seems like an opportunity to break in. So I didn't know if you have like a lot that you're thinking about, or if this is just something that's kind of a hobby, or.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that working on trying to, you know, make it to the top there. Eventually one day get to the one of the big two. But yeah, I mean, it's. I guess it's gonna be in stepping stones, and Paranormal Hitman's kind of
That first
introduction
step.
to yeah, first step. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, what books are you reading? What comics do you love? What's inspirational to you?
Yeah, so I mean, book wise, I read everything from graphic novels to historical books. One of the newest books that I'm reading comics wise is I just got into Farmhand, which was put out by Image, and I'm actually
Rob Guillory.
finishing. Yeah, Rob Gilbert. Yep, and
Yeah.
I'm actually just finishing up Doomsday Clock. I'm on issue I think 11. I know I'm a little late to the game on that, but
I was
but
gonna say you're as late to it as the publication was. So
yeah, yeah, I heard there was a lot of delays, but yeah, that's one good thing about comics is like I have shelf full of trade
hmm
paperbacks and everything, and a lot of the books I'm reading are from the '80s, so it's like you can go back in time and appreciate the artwork from the '80s and
hmm
'90s, and that's the best thing about comics is
Yeah.
it's timeless.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was just talking about that with somebody else, like to me, the 80s are kind of the height of comics for the most part. Not in the sense that it's necessarily even my favorite time period, but to me, that's just where comics kind of hit that end point. The 90s, it was almost too bombastic. That was almost like the
Yeah.
after effect, but to me, when they got to the 80s, like that's where you really got into this deep thinking, and comics are no longer just for kids, and you started to get a lot of the deconstruction and a lot of the darker elements that in some ways I kind of wish would pull back a little bit, because comics are almost getting too heavy on the whole, but at the same time, like I think it's really cool that the 80s turned it into a medium for adults and something that people could read for more than just like a bunch of kid style superhero stories.
Yeah, like Frank Miller's work is, I feel like that also took it to the next level, adding a little bit of edge to it.
hmm Yeah, yeah, it's a very impressive time in comics. There's a lot of very bombastic work that came out.
Hmm.
What are some characters that you love? Batman, DC, Marvel.
Yeah, probably my favorite superhero is Batman, just because I love the idea that he's this rich playboy that doesn't have any superpowers, and he just kind of uses his smarts and money and a little bit of athleticism in there. Yeah, yeah. I
Er,
would say Batman, and on the Marvel side, I was always a big Juggernaut fan.
oh, okay.
I don't know why. I was just drawn to Juggernaut. I just thought he was he looked badass, and I would love to be strong like that.
Yeah, right. I've never really thought of Juggernaut as like I guess like a solo character, somebody that much would happen. But he has a series right now, or just recently at least, where they did
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. He finally got his own solo series, and I think it came out a couple months ago.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive. I never would have expected that character to kind of break out on his own. So that's a unique answer, but that's really cool because I've never really been drawn to a lot of those mainstream characters. Like Wolverine does not work for me. I don't know what people love about him.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
yeah, it's yeah, I guess he's a love him or hate him type of guy.
I just always hated like his personality is basically just angry. I was like there needs to be more to him. The foggy memory and I'm angry at everything just never really did it for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of the smoking cigars, calling everybody bub, and not wanting to join any teams or anything like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So I guess do you have anything else you want to tell everybody? Anything I know you said the book's coming out in February, but I guess when do we need to order it? What's the FOC and everything like that?
yeah, so it's available right now on you would have to go to your local LCS. It's in the previous catalog, and if you give them the code for the book, there's two covers. Cover A, which is the normal cover, and cover B, which is an homage to Amazing Spider-Man 129, the first appearance of Punisher. So you just give your LCS one of those two codes, and they'll order the book for you, and you'll have it February 10th. And I also, if you follow my Instagram at Brett Murphy Wright, I have a couple of posts up there with the codes listed. I believe it's DEC 2013-11 for cover A, and DEC 2013-12 for cover B.
Okay, awesome. And you said your Instagram is Brett Murphy. Are you on any other platforms?
No, so just Instagram at B Murphy Wright, and then just Facebook at Brett Murphy.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, that's all.
Behemoth Comics on Twitter and Instagram, and they'll have more information posted as well.
Okay, awesome. I need to follow them on Twitter because, like I said, I've been hearing their name recently. I just haven't dug into any of their stuff, and I don't think I've followed them for whatever reason. So
yeah,
that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, they have a lot of great stuff coming out, and also if you want to order a shirt, shameless plug, they have nice shirts that they just came out with, so you can order one on their website.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, I'm not sure if that shirt is actually from Behemoth or if that's just a lucky coincidence.
Yeah, no, just I think they just released 2 T-shirts the past couple weeks, so I had to get one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's how you build brand recognition.
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah,
here we go.
Like an athlete with Nike wearing Behemoth gear.
Right. Yeah, okay, so it's DEC 201311 and DEC 201312 for the 2 covers. So that should help a little bit. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about all I have right now. It was a pleasure talking to you, man. Like, it sounds like you have something really cool and unique going on here. Like I kind of described a couple of different genres and stuff that it touches on that I really like, so I think people will enjoy this. It looks like a lot of fun, especially being an action comedy. I mean, every action comedy I've ever watched, I enjoy. So I can't imagine that the comic could not be something great, something special, something funny, and something actiony. So
yeah, it'll be a fun read, and I'm sure people will enjoy the artwork. The artwork is awesome, as well as the colors that Wilson did in there. It's it's really well done.
Oh, and I'm sorry, who was the artist again? And do you know contact for him?
Yeah, it's Wilson Gandolpho, and I'm gonna look up his Instagram.
Yeah, no problem. Look it up because I want to make sure people know to look for him too.
So his Instagram is W Gandolpho. So WGANDOLPHO, and he has, he'll have artwork from Paranormal Hitmen, some of his other works that he's worked on, and it's just a great follow on Instagram to see his talents.
Awesome. Yeah. I love following creative types on Instagram because the stuff they post is just, it's fun to look at, it's beautiful. Even your page here, just like all the Hitman covers and stuff. And like I said, that emerald green, it just glows. It's something really interesting and it catches the eye.
Yeah, Wilson did a great job with the covers.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, that's it. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'm excited to see this book come out come February, and I hope everybody orders it as soon as possible.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Awesome.